Hi, everybody. I'm Gary Grube. Welcome to NLL Lacrosse Talk on Spanglish Sports World and Zingo TV channel 249 and 250. Please remember to download the Zingo TV app at the respective app stores for iOS and Android devices. While you download, please make sure to read and leave a comment. Both apps are absolutely free. Zingo TV is available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, Fire TV sticks, Roku sticks, also available on all smart TVs 2016 and above. Now on NLL Lacrosse Talk, allow me to introduce my guests. The Nova Scotia Privateers, Rod Humphreys and his captains. How are you guys?
Just great.
Doing excellent, thank you. How you doing?
Great, thank you very much. I really appreciate you guys taking the time. It's a pleasure to see you guys when you're not on the field. Of course, being with the Gales, it hasn't turned out well the last couple of years when we've all joined together. At least not for us.
Yeah, the tides have turned over the past few years, I guess, for us. Not so pleasant in many years ago, I guess, during the encounters.
Mm-hmm. Well, we'll talk about all that and the formation of the program and things like that, as well as the last two championships. And I want to go through the last couple of tournaments and things like that. But the first question we always ask all of our guests is, when did you first pick up a stick? Rod, I'll start with you, and I'm going to work my way across.
Well, I started playing in 1969, and despite my youthful good looks, I started in Annapolis Valley. We had a team in Middleton, Bridgetown, Annapolis, and played for 3 or 4 years midget, then a wee bit of junior, and then college on the way. And didn't get back to it till 1979, playing senior in Halifax, and then played for 2 years, and then put the stick down and started coaching in the year 2000, and that's my CV.
All right. Yeah, my name's Ian McShane. I'm one of the captains on the team. I picked up a stick when I was about 10 years old. I saw some guys, I thought they were playing street hockey, and they were throwing a little crossball around, and I said, parents signed me up 2 weeks later, and I've been playing ever since, and started out and playing for the Dartmouth Bandits, and then from there moved out west, played in Calgary for a couple of years, and then moved to play in Victoria for a year, and all the way back here now, still playing 20-some years later.
Good coast to coast.
Good coast to coast, yeah.
It stopped in the middle and along the way, so that is a nationwide tour.
Yeah, right. It's a great game. It's like it's literally taken. I've lived almost every province in the country because of lacrosse and
right.
Boston.
Just selling yourself a little bit short too. I believe you're like rookie of the year with Victoria too. While we're at it.
Yeah. I had a really good year out there. And it's a fortunate end for me personally. Just a bad injury, but awesome time.
Right.
Led you back to us.
Yeah.
There you go. Back to the belong.
Nice. Back to the good coast.
All right, so Jamie, let's talk about you.
Yeah, Jamie Dunbar, one of the captains as well on the team. So I started playing second year bantam. My brother, who's on the team as well, he started a year before me. I'm 3 years older than him. And I saw him playing, and I was playing basketball at the time. It was kind of my main sport. Then started to pick up playing lacrosse. I played for Halifax Southwest, the Hurricanes here, throughout bantam, midget, and then 3 of my years in junior. My last 2 years of junior, I went to BC, played junior A for Port Coquitlam.
Mm-hmm.
I got drafted to New West. Didn't really pursue much of the senior career out there. Kind of in that time frame, I was down in the States as well, playing D3 for New England College, the Pilgrims at Henry, New Hampshire. Came back, played at Dalhousie for field lacrosse there for quite some time. When I moved to Toronto, I played for Kitchener-Waterloo Velocity Senior B and the Toronto Blue Jays Senior A field team there. And then I've been back in Nova Scotia playing for the Twin City Arrows and obviously the Nova Scotia Privateers to date.
Right. And you also, while you were in Dalhousie, you were also coaching too, right? Assistant
coach.
Yeah.
So I had the pleasure of coaching, pulling like a Jackie Moon type piece for a little while there when I was doing my master's at Dal as well. And then I kind of stepped back and let the younger guys play in, and then coached Dal for probably six or so years prior to moving to Toronto. And then I haven't coached since.
It does lead me to my next thing, is that the coaching probably helped you become better teammates. I know when I was coaching and teaching, I learned the game much better than I ever did before. Because before I was working on whatever I knew. Once I started doing that, I started understanding what everybody else had to be doing. Does that relate to you guys?
Yeah, I think it definitely relates for me personally. Just you get a better understanding when you're playing it, right? You're so kind of ingrained in playing, you don't necessarily get to take that step back and understand, maybe
see the whole picture.
See the whole picture, the system elements, which is great. So I think that's translated a lot. And then I think from a coaching standpoint too, for McShane, right? Like he really does a great job of like translating a lot of the stuff that he learned while playing away, and then taking some of that coaching and applies it in his Jackie Moon type way now for us in our practices that we have here.
Yeah.
Right.
And just like build on that, like when you're playing, you're only really like all the times focused on yourself. But when you're kind of in that player coach role, you're thinking big picture, thinking what everything's going on. And although you want to focus on yourself, you're more focused on what's best for your team at hand, like what's actually needs to get done. And it really just helps you. You don't want to make bad mistakes or build bad habits because you're trying to coach and people are following you. So by you kind of setting a good example, it kind of follows everyone kind of.
And I think as well, the last since really 2018, guys, we've had a very enthusiastic group of players that really, really want to get better.
Yeah.
And that makes it easy, doesn't it?
It makes it really easy.
Well, that leads me into my next question for you, Rod, is when you're choosing your teams, the words always that I've talked to with a lot of GMs and a lot of coaches over the years is character, not characters. And I'm assuming from watching you guys that applies here as well, that you need character players, not characters.
Yeah, I would say, fellas, we do the selection by committee, really, with the captains and the other coaches. And we're looking for, obviously, skill, and but how well do you fit into a system, and how willing are you to take on a role that you normally hadn't played in years past? Would that be accurate, fellas?
Yeah, I think so, because it's interesting. If you look at the composition of the team, we come from like our 4 senior programs here, or the junior programs that they have, where you have individuals that are, top goal scorers or top 1, 2, or 3 on that team, and they'll come to Prague. They'll move back to defensive roles, transition roles, and more of that role player type. So I think it just really speaks to what you were saying there, Gary, right? We're looking for that character of individuals that are willing to do what it takes for the team and understand what their role is, right? And whether that be a little bit of sacrifice of what their stat line might look like and the ultimate, reach for that championship at the end of the day.
Right.
Yeah, because that is what it's all about, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, the one thing I did notice with you guys especially was it was more the objectivity to detail. Absolutely. Game plans are set, adjustments are made, but the absolute being able to take Rod's instructions or one of your other coaches' instructions, put it out to the guys, and actually fulfill it pretty much all the time, whether the game plan changes or not.
Yeah, and I think that's something that kind of goes to Rod back in 2018. We used to have our core was always from Nova Scotia, but we would always have 5 or 6 players come from all over the world kind of play for us. And then 2018, Rod wanted everyone kind of be local and to be able to practice with us, to be able to spend all winter getting ready for this tournament. And I think it's all that extra kind of time to basically get all those small details in and actually work on trying to become perfect. No one's perfect, but trying to nail everything down. And when we get to the tournament, it's not like we're trying to figure things out for the first time. We've had months to get ready for it. And it's been, back to back.
Yeah, it's been really good. Like, I think that's what separates some of the teams that we've seen over the last couple of years is that we do have that more team first, the more system basis. We know what we want to do. We have plays that we want to run.
Right.
So what you'd see like for a Raditon, right? They're obviously phenomenal because they play together all year long. Then you have really talented teams that come to the tournament, right? More so thrown together, great individual skill, but don't necessarily have all those like inner workings that need to click in such a short tournament to make it happen.
Right.
Yeah, and by the time Game 5 rolls around, they're starting to know each other. But by that time, it's kind of too late.
Right.
To figure that
out. But you have something special every single half, it seems, in there. So, also taking a look at what your team you're facing. So whether you're going to run and gun or whether you're going to just play on design plays, you guys were pretty apt to do anything out there, and it never hurt to have extreme good goaltending too, which made the rest of you guys seem to relax.
Oh yeah, Nate and Cole have been stand up for us obviously over the last 2 years, and which really makes it easy, right? When you have a solid guy there, really anchoring it, it's great. But I think to your point too, around like the preparation of who we're going to play, like it's something we take a great amount of pride in. Like once the pools are drawn, albeit some of the players might switch in and out, we'll all get together, have a bit of a night out with the boys. But the night starts off with us watching game tape of those films of those teams we're going to play. The same thing we do when we're in Prague. We're looking after we've crossed over, who'll be playing next. Okay, it's likely going to be these two, and we're watching the game film from the tournament live at our hostel, essentially, right? Just to make sure that we're prepared. And like you said, do we need to run and gun? Who do we need to key on? Where's the goalie weak? So I think we put a lot of that preparation into what we do in the 6 months, 7 months leading up to it, to what we do when we're there live for the tournament as well.
Right. Well, that's the big thing that changed, is being able to have those 6 or 7 months where a lot of these teams get thrown together. And, I know the Gales, they were lucky if they got a practice in before they got over there. And, this year was a lot easier. Last year was an absolute nightmare with travel. We got to spend a day in Germany and got to spend an extra 4 hours in Toronto, and showed up at 3:00 in the morning of the game day. We had a morning game. It was bizarre. It was bizarre. More like baptized by fire for a team that had it together too, right?
That's character building right there.
Well, yeah. I believe Steven Stamp said on the broadcast, these guys were lucky to be able to hold a stick, let alone try and win a game. But, the other thing in there is, the Rubeski tournament itself is really, for somebody who's new to come to it, it's just like, wow. It's just between the style of lacrosse, seeing European lacrosse, let alone the setup there, and where everywhere you go, you can have a drink, you can have this, you can have that. And, to try and stay away from all that and stay focused. My kudos is to the captains and the coaching to keep everybody in line so they don't veer in 17 different directions and come in and, not be on point, because it shows in the first 5 minutes, right?
I know Jamie and I's first couple of years there, it was a very different vibe throughout the tournament than it is now. And I think one of the big things that's changed is we show up 4 or 5 days early, and we have a lot of good team bonding nights, a lot of good fun nights, kind of before. A lot of good nights before the kind of tournament starts, and then around Tuesday comes, and we still have fun during the week, but it's kind of a change in mind. We have a mind shift change kind of as Tuesday comes, and
I always encourage the fellas, especially the guys and their associated girlfriends, and for the first time they're going there, is to go early, because it's such a great experience. And then when Tuesday practice, helmets go unlocked, right? And just everybody is ready to start playing lacrosse. They've done all the sightseeing, and
it is. I think it's come too, like with just the changeover in the team over like the last 5 years as well. Like people, like you said, when we started, it was a little bit looser, and as some of those individuals who are fundamental, obviously, to the program being where it is today, we interject that with the new youth too, that we, back to the coaching point, coached growing up. Like a lot of the guys on the team I coached when they were in midget or in junior, and now we're playing side by side, right? So there's just a little bit of trust, a little bit of understanding of what's expected as well.
Right.
What's really gratifying, Jamie and Ian, is the amount of guys off the privateers team that now coach.
100%.
Yeah.
And that is really gratifying from where we sit, right? Is to see these guys give back to a game that's given them so much, right?
Exactly. So it's succession planning too that goes into it, right? We won't be doing it forever, although we wish we could, I think. So.
All right. So let's talk about the tournament itself. What have you been playing with the privateers? I'll start with you, Jamie.
Yeah. So I've been on the team since 2013. This was my 8th year. I had 1 or 2 years there where I couldn't go just due to other commitments, and then COVID held us back a couple of years. But First year I went, we lost to the Gales in the bronze medal game, actually, in a lightning storm.
Lightning storm, the power went out. And you weren't there.
I wasn't there.
Oh, man. I didn't think it could rain that hard.
Yeah.
You know?
But I've been around a little while, seen a lot of things, a lot of change in that arena. The Jumbotron coming in, the fireworks always stay the same, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, those 5 minutes are amazing.
Oh, yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Ian, how about you? How long have you been with the team?
Yeah, I started in 2014. So I came actually when I was living out in Calgary playing junior. And then I took 5 years off after that and didn't come for 4 years. Didn't come back till 2018 just because I was playing elsewhere or finishing up school and could never work out. And then, so I would say part of the program about 10 years, but off and on a few years there.
Right. And Rod, have you been there since the beginning? Since it was the Adirondack Warriors?
Yeah, 2008. Yeah, and we missed 2010 because of the volcano in Iceland. We were just talking about that the other day in the dressing room with Jody Gorman, who was part of that team. And we had
a rescue tournament. Can you be, stopped because of a volcano?
And our flights were canceled, and then an hour later, the Frankfurt opened. So it was pretty disappointing again after 3 or 4 months of work. But hey, and then COVID. But yeah, I think last year was my 14th.
Right. Now, predominantly up until the last couple of years, the team's been a top 10 finisher. And then, of course, again, you're talking about 2018, second place, and then a couple of sevenths, and then bang, everything fell into place.
Yeah.
And again, it's keeping it guys who've been around all year round and being able to practice, and the finished product goes out there. So not very much change of personnel, so to speak.
That's exactly right. Like, everyone is basically local. I think there's a couple of guys last year that started to go to Ontario or move to Ontario. So we do have more of those like transplant guys coming in, but that's the Nate Jollymores, the Niall Sears, the Chris Millettes, Zach Kerrigan's as well.
But they played the majority of their box lacrosse in Nova Scotia.
Yeah. And they try to come back. So they'll be around usually for half the practice year, if you will.
Right.
But yeah, that's what it's really all about, is that we have our kind of set times on Sundays that we go. We do our practice. We take it extremely seriously. We run our system work. We'll run scrimmages when we can, try to find some opponents to play against. And I think that's just obviously the key for us, is just being prepared. And I think now that we have some good wily vets on the team, we know what to expect when we come over for the newer guys. And I think we only had one brand new guy or two brand new guys this year from a player standpoint, actually, for the first time.
Two.
Yeah, two.
Newton and Glenn.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm assuming that you guys are planning on returning for next year to make a three-piece.
That'd be a good assumption.
That's right, yeah.
safe bet, yeah.
My goal is always 10 years, always 10 years to go. So I got 2 more years in me at least. If we keep winning, then that'll be a conversation with my soon-to-be wife around if she'll allow it.
Do what I do. Bring them along.
No, I do. I do.
It's just easier.
Yeah.
I tried one year with them at home, and 2:00 in the morning, I'm getting calls, and how are you? What's going on? So it's easier when they're in the same time zone.
It's only 8:00 in Toronto, right? So,
Yeah, you got one set on Prague time, right? So
yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about the evolution of the European lacrosse. I know my first time there, I was pretty, taken back. Is wow, it is quick. What is your take on it and the evolution over the years that you guys have been there? Because with the amount of years you guys have, you've seen it increase steadily, right?
I think a big thing's like we almost lost to Germany if Kerrigan didn't score a diving behind the goal or behind the net shot with half a second left. We would have lost. And Germany's a team 6 years ago, we would have stopped. It wouldn't have been close. And
but we knew going in that they were big and athletic and skilled. Yeah. We knew that going in, and they proved it. They're big, athletic, and skilled, right? So.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, like the evolution. Like LCC's obviously been great for a long time, but it was really just LCC. I think when I first started going, you would play like Gisny Mesto, you'd play TJ Malasiche, maybe the LCC Wolves came in probably midway through when I was going, and it was just a big difference, right, in what the skill sets that those teams have had. And obviously you can see a night and day difference is that LCC continues to be great, but you see the other groups continue to progress as well. And I think a lot of that is what they're doing within their summer or their fall leagues, because they'll essentially try to play all year round within those leagues. You have new clubs being started up there by Brian Whitner. So I think just the growth and the draw that the tournaments had and the impact on the surrounding areas is obviously very, very noticeable in the quality of the players and the quality of the systems that they've always had, because they get the benefit of playing all year round together.
One of the things that I think is pretty cool about the tournament is that the young teams are trying to build a program, like Sweden and Norway and the Dutch. But I'm going to go back to 2008 here, fellas, but and maybe it was 9, maybe it was 11. I can't remember, Gary. I didn't write it down. But,
somewhere in the 2000s area there,
yeah, somewhere there. And but was Turku, and they were just a bunch of guys, say, sort of where Norway is now.
Yeah.
And they wanted to get better, and Tracy Kaluski went over as coach. And you can see where they're at now, and I've seen them since their evolution and developing players. And again, what I like about the Finns is that it's all homegrown.
Right.
So and this is what I preach, and I can preach
You certainly can.
is that when they go home, they take something back.
And I guess Tracy Kaluski coaching Finland, like I'm pretty sure they had a guy in the NLL like 2 years ago.
Yeah, Joachim Miller.
Yeah,
for Finland.
And it's all due to basically the AHM tournament, and just kind of looking forward to going to that every year and kind of building towards that.
Yeah, but he's made them, and it was probably a 7 or 8 year evolution.
Yeah.
Right. But he's made them into a good boxocrat.
Like Switzerland this year, Sean Evans.
Switzerland
and Sean Evans,
and the Germans. And so, I've watched them for quite a while, Gary, and just to see those guys progress, and that's what that tournament does for a lot of those programs. That's
right.
I really like about the whole deal.
Yeah, the tournament itself, like I say, for anybody who's going over there that first time, once they get through that, just stop in awe of between where you're at, the outdoor box, where it's situated, and then, of course, the lacrosse itself, which is just tremendous. And it really isn't a bad game. Some of them are a little lopsided, yeah, but they have a lot of the stuff in there of really great games and really great goals.
Well, what they did, sorry, Gary.
No, go ahead.
What they did was 3 or 4 years ago, 18, maybe 2018, they went to the gold and silver groups, with the top 12. And then when they moved to 24 teams, I think that was 18.
Yeah.
They went to the silver and the gold groups. And so now you had, weaker teams playing weaker teams, and it led to every game could go either way.
Yeah.
And that's what makes the tournament so great, is that, to your point, is that every game is exciting because they're close, they're well fought. I think if you're a lacrosse player, it's someplace you got to be.
Right. I sometimes laugh when I'm seeing stuff out here, especially in Ontario with summer ball, and the game was canceled because the field sweat a little bit and the floor got a little wet, and I'm thinking about your first championship, and there was a torrential downpour just before the game, and you might as well have been wearing skates.
We all made sure we bought turf shoes this year. It was like, I remember, it was, you were more worried about not falling last year rather than actually playing lacrosse. It was so bad.
But I think, when I look back, that was probably one of the most exciting games I've ever.
I think that might have been the most exciting game in tournament history. And that's,
that was unbelievable. That game itself was just unbelievable, because you guys came back from, what was it, 7-3 at one point?
4-1 at the end of the first.
Yeah, 4-1. That, and then it was back and forth. We would take the lead, they would take the lead, and just it was crazy.
Down to last possession wins, and you guys won. It was amazing. But again, the field, the crowd, the European roughing. You had to find a way. We'll talk about more of it for this year's tournament. But that year, I think it was more this hadn't been there that you silenced 2,000 people
Mm-hmm.
because it was wall to wall in there, and it was you could have heard a pin drop at the very end.
And yeah,
I could certainly hear my heartbeat.
Yeah.
Boom, boom.
And there's just something about beating the home team in the finals that makes it feel real, right?
Yeah,
Right.
because we've lost some closies to LCC back in, again, 2012. We had beat Boston in the round robin,
Mm-hmm.
and then met LCC in the semis, and we were down a goal, ran our play, and Danny Ashford ran one off the crossbar. I mean, what can you do, right? I mean,
Right.
we ran it, and it almost worked.
Even last year, though, we played LCC game after opening ceremonies and lost that game. And you never want to lose, but I think that was the best thing as a team that could have ever happened because it put, hey, we were still a good team, but we can't just show up and expect to win.
No, exactly.
And yeah, we refocused and
I think that's one thing, though, fellas, that we've been really good at is not to get our expectations too high. I mean, obviously, there's going to be some of that, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
But then you nailed it. To lose to LCC just brings you right back to the ground and say, guys, we got some work ahead of us, right? So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. But that was one style of game because then I think your second or your third game you played the Gales, and it was the last game of the night. It was a cold night, and you guys turned it into a track meet, if I remember right, in the last quarter.
Yeah.
It was continuing the long bombs, and away you went, and run. You guys' conditioning was incredible, and it showed one after another, but it was completely set up down in your own zone, and away it went.
One thing about the short game tournament lacrosse is it's very fast. It's not like a 60-minute stop time box game, right? It's like you got to come out with the pedal on the gas, and you can't let up until it's over.
yeah, if you, like you said, if you have a chance to score, you have to score because you might not get another chance. And the games are so short, like you have to capitalize and get a chance.
And how many times, Dean, have you said, well, it's tournament lacrosse, right? If we'd have had the Germans perhaps in a 60-minute box game, it would have been a different game, not
Yeah.
score.
Exactly.
Half a second left, yeah.
And I think that goes back to like the evolution for us, right? Because that's what we had all been used to is that you got 60 minutes, so we'd come out slow, we'd come out flat when we first started coming to the tournament in the mid 2015s, I guess, or whatever it was, and then you learn. And then we started to adapt it to the way we practice, right? Everything's intentional around early and often, get after it, and then just working through like the right progressions and the odd play, like the potential situations that you're going to see within the tournament as well. Because if you get down a couple goals and you have 8 minutes left to do it, that's a monumentous feat to come and climb over, right? So
Yeah, it was, and when you're winning, when you're losing, that clock, I'm sure they got her on.
it's not a
go
good
really
feeling.
fast,
Yeah,
but-
it's not a good
Yeah,
feeling.
especially without stop time until the last 2 minutes. It's like, come on, stop.
But I think, fellows, and we talked, like, to Jamie's point, we talked about that a lot, is the slow starts, which has traditionally been a bit of a difficulty. Now, Jamie has got it down to a science, at 45 minutes before the game, it's the run, stretch, sticks in hand. And that, I mean, you got it down to a science.
That's right. We always get back at the same time. Maybe one or two stragglers getting out on the floor, but it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when
Even your warm-ups, everything is with a purpose.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah, we talked about that a lot. What's the best warm up to get us warm?
Exactly. And I think we even adjusted a couple times during the tournament. We realized we were getting longer warm-ups than we traditionally would have had in the past. So we threw in a couple more things outside of what we typically thought we had to do, just because with the extra time, a little more stick movement to get the legs going a little bit more. So
how many 2-on-1s can you run?
Yeah, how many 2-on-1s?
You also had elements, though. The first couple of days of that tournament this year was freezing. Especially during the last game of the night, it was -2. And then midway through the tournament to the end of it, it was 25 degrees. So, you have a switch of almost 30 degrees Celsius. You have to gear it differently because you don't want to shoot your bolt before before the game starts, and then you're panting for the entire second quarter.
Yeah, exactly. It's the worst thing you can do.
Yeah, we went to the grocery store there in Smeekoff and Randall and bought 3 or 4 blankets. For $4, whatever they were. But, you'd have paid 20 for them when it was, 5 degrees and you're freezing at the arena.
New England battling in the crowd.
Yeah. Somebody took a picture of that, didn't they?
Yeah.
Coach Jamie Stead and I under the same blanket. So.
The guys running in for the cold beer, I had to wonder about them. My fingers were blue. I don't know. I would have gone for a good hot cup of coffee is what it would have been. That's it. All right, let's talk about this year's championship, because this time around was nothing like the year previous. You were totally prepared. There wasn't anything. First of all, the elements wasn't a factor. So the one advantage that the Custodies would normally have is fields wet. They're playing on that thing year round. They have the right footwear. They have the right grip. They know how to play the corners. They know everything. When the weather is nice and sunny and dry, they don't have that advantage because it's just a turf. So you guys had that down pat, but your systems, you were able to, number one, shut them down, which in turn shut down the crowd, which is their energy. You didn't let the refs' calls or non-calls bother you. You then were able to get under their skin, and they actually started taking foolish penalties. And I think the one that got me was when they called you on something that was, ticky-tack. You went and scored a shorthanded goal. So again, each little thing was one step further into them starting to, it's the Rocky Drago moment when it's turning the other way around on the game itself. Rob, always start with you behind the bench.
I was it's hard to sort of get away from the laser focus. You almost have to go watch it on video when it's all over. But on the bench during the game, I think Jimmy's dad, Glenn, was there with me, and Connor. And other than a few moments where we were a little disappointed in some no calls, when I got smashed down twice there, I felt that I was confident going in, and nothing shook my confidence during the game. Would that be accurate?
Yeah,
I mean, you weren't on, but I just felt that, with the defense we had, Gary, I felt that I'm extremely confident, and especially after watching 4 or 5 games LCC play, because I watched them all, and they're so fast, right? But they didn't seem to be too anxious during the game after the first couple of minutes to come inside the dotted circle, right? So that makes a big difference because they're so good on the back door, right?
Like everything starts with our defense. Like our defense, defense does win championships, and they're mean, tough, and super skilled. And everything they're doing was 30 feet out, just getting 30-foot shots, and we trust our goalies to make that save. And as soon as we knew they weren't getting inside, we knew we were going to pop a few eventually in the game. We were never worried about that. So as long as our defense kept playing as they were. And
we had some real nice surprises. Chris Millette popped 2.
Yeah.
Back end, and I know Stanford said he's sort of a stay-at-home defender, but he's deadly on both ends of the floor, right?
Guy.
And he's fast, and he rang a couple off the post during last year's.
That's right.
And just to see that and how gratifying that we knew what he had in him and his skill level, and then to see him do that, I was so happy for him that he was able to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Am I out of foot there, guys?
No, not at all. Yeah, I think for me personally, it was a way different feeling than the year before. Second time, I guess, going to the finals and just knowing who you're going to play, knowing it's basically the same team, right? So you just got to lock in on Hoolish, you got to lock in on Dom, and then you got to lock in on what's 24's name?
Pavel
Cirque.
Yeah, Cirque, right? So I think knowing that and having the faith in the guys that we had, right? Like these guys are saying here, like we're a physical defensive force. I think we know who we wanted to key on, and we certainly wanted to make them feel it if the refs weren't going to be calling things. And I think once you saw a couple of their bodies hit the floor, it was just a whole different game. I think we had a little bit of extra motivation too. There was some subtle smack talk going on in the hallways coming down from the Ratatin team, from a member of their team that we'll leave nameless for the moment. But that was the motivation that kind of let us in that, we let them have it last year. It's like, oh, yeah, well, we'll let you have it this year again, I guess. Yeah, so.
Nice.
So let's have it in a couple different ways.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, I know, Rod, I know you're talking about laser focus and confident. And we talked before the game as well as after the game. And yes, I agree. You were full of confidence, but it wasn't boastful confidence. It's just the way you spoke. It was just, we follow what we're doing. We're going to be doing this and that and the other. And,
I think one of the biggest things that I was happy with was the control of the emotions. And you get in the pickle, you don't, like one guy doesn't think he has to do it all. Just stick to the systems. They're proven, they work, and that's what is so gratifying from my perspective. Was the discipline.
And that's the difference. 2018, when we beat LCC in the semis, and we acted like we won the tournament. We still had another game the next day, and we played a stinker, just because we didn't know how to control our emotions and understand
like kicking a dead ball.
Yeah, literally, yeah, just like forgot how to play, forgot to do what made us successful, and that's what's really changed over the last few years.
But I think if I were to sort of look back, fellas, and I've said this to you before, but in 2018, I think we really started to believe in ourselves.
We did.
As a team that we can compete here. Yeah, and I think it was a big turning point for the team, 2018, in a whole bunch of ways. Right.
Very much so.
Right. Well, I noticed in this tournament also, lots of teams chirp, and that's part of the game, but you guys didn't really do a whole lot of that. It was just business. There's a few back and forths or whatever, but or you hit it real well.
Yeah, I remember what Jasper said. I said, Jasper's Brigo, his wife, Bree, is go with you. He goes, nope, this is a business trip.
And it is, right? Yeah. So I'm glad
it's a business trip.
That all the yelling can't be heard, I guess, from the crowd all the time. But most of the subtle chirping or anything probably happens face to face when we're out there trying to hit some guys. But I think that is the key, right? Like emotions they can run away with you. And when you do that, right, you're not going to make the minor adjustments. You're not going to be talking on the bench. You're not going to be looking for guidance from your coach or someone else who was there. So just being able to reel it in is I think, obviously a strong trait. And then some people like to play with their heart on their sleeve too, and they do the better job when they have that going for them too as well.
Right, and I know about the non-calls. There was a play that was I was right behind your net for the first half, and
I know what you're going to say. Yeah.
No, the I thought the guy was chopping wood. The double, wow, and nothing. No.
The ref's hand went up.
And it went right back down again. Yeah. We looked at that. That's insane.
Yeah. And then there was
to control your emotions and not get up and that to me right away I knew that you guys were, your mindset was there, and your goaltending was he was out of his mind. He made some incredible saves.
That quick stick on Pavel was phenomenal. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. But the defense was there to cover up whenever he was, looking here or there, whatever. And it was almost pulling him down to have almost three goaltenders there at some points.
Yeah.
But you could see how frustrated the custodians were getting because their long shots weren't going through. You're soaking up a lot of shots.
And so Dom Pezic, one of their best players, actually played in Nova Scotia, went to President's Cup with us one year, and knows us all pretty well. And I've never seen him lose his cool. And that game, he showed probably the first emotion I've ever seen him in a game, like actually getting after guys and
his own teammates.
And he's always the most calm, cool, and collected guy. And
Wouldn't have done him much good to get after done
you know, yeah,
No, but the emotions piece, and I think for them, right, like they like to be a transition team too, and we pride ourselves on, and particularly against them, right, like stopping that reverse transition. So, we have a lot of very athletic guys on the front end that can come back and stifle that. We make sure to change early, and I don't think they had any transition looks really on us at all, and that can be a big key. Then they're just stuck to have to play a 5-man set versus us, where they're not going to get into the middle, and with a solid backing with Nate or Cole, right, like that's a tough task for any team to go through.
Right. And when your special teams is working as well, they really don't get a shift off, because shorthanded, power play, 5-on-5, it didn't matter. You guys had them on their heels a lot of that game.
Yes.
yes, yeah, nothing to add. Just, yeah.
Copy that.
Copy that.
And then, of course, the game's over. You win second in a row. I don't know if anybody's repeated back-to-back in there. I know we had some teams win a couple of times. But
The Mega Men.
Mega Men,
Mega Men did it.
7 and 8.
Yeah.
Or 8 and 9. I think.
Yeah, I think it was 8 and 9. Yes, we're the first team in a long time to do it. So, yeah, it's a very gratifying feeling. Like such a short tournament.
Erases all the dope. That's no good.
That's right. Lightning doesn't strike twice. That's what we're saying. So,
Right. Well, this is my question for Rod then, because you've been there through it all, and the evolution of your program. How would you describe that in a couple of sentences, that to watch it to where it is now from where you first began?
Once we decided, like, we were sending pretty good team for the most part, from 8, 9, 11, 12, and 13. And then in 14, we had some difficulty getting players. Jamie, you were there. Remember?
We only lost one game that year because the
wrong. And but to see the turn in 2018 when we made the decision that we're going to stick with Nova Scotia guys, we're not going to chase players to come play with us. We're going to, if we can't do it with our crew from Nova Scotia, then we're not going to bother, really. Yeah. And then to see the change in 2018, and then we just seemed to work all that much harder. And 2020, when the COVID ball came down, we had a good team ready to go. And so by the time 2023 rolled around, we'd had most of you guys together for 3 years, working hard. And we had one winner there with COVID, but then we got back at it. And 2022 was, with the war and COVID-19 and all that sort of stuff. We had a team ready to go, and then the war started in Ukraine, and we were uncertain about what was going to happen. So team decision, right?
Yeah.
We put it out there. And 2023 and 2024, it's like, if I never get involved in another game of lacrosse in my life, this has been the most gratifying experience I could ever describe to you.
Well, it shows with all of you guys when you're together is the camaraderie and the team that you put together, probably more of your own image too, without knowing it or knowing it. Of a team that, well, it's cliche to say, the team thing and together each achieves more, blah, blah, but it's true. And you guys personify that and have shown it and demonstrated it in the last 2 years, and each one getting stronger and stronger. And literally every game that you played, you got that much better, right, crescendoing all the way to the championship. Because I think that was the cherry on the sundae for the way you guys played this tournament.
I would say in the years that I've been involved in this, I never have been with a group, a lacrosse team, that was so tight, from the coaches to, Ellen and Amelia getting chocolate bars and bananas.
Yeah.
I never have been involved with a group that was so friggin' tight and really liked each other, right? And we're all there for a common purpose. And that's something that doesn't happen with every team.
No, that's a great point. I think it goes back to the evolution, like being around for long enough now. Is that there certainly were cliques, right? We weren't as cohesive as a group. We may have practiced, but we didn't hang out as much as a team, really, or at all outside of those practices. Like now, we pride ourselves on like trying to get the boys together to go out and do these different things leading up to the tournament. Whether that's going out, downtown in Halifax, going to play some golf, like meeting here in my building and playing pool and watching game tape. Like that's something that just makes the group like a true like family type of thing. Like we were out last weekend, everyone they could celebrating Kerrigan's birthday. So that's the thing that we try to do, right? Even outside of the season is stay together. And yeah, we all just like one another.
Now, I couldn't go because I can't stay up past 9 o'clock.
Well, if you're not going out, right, there's only one English channel on the TV anyway, so,
That's right.
But it's also having a mature group that knows, right? When you have a younger group, it's much tougher to keep everybody together and reeled in. So everything has worked in your favor by keeping the team together. And I'm assuming that this is the more or less with maybe a player here or a player there, that this is the team that will be coming back to Radisson next year.
I think it'll be there won't be any momentous changes. It'll be a gradual, like 2 new players this year. There's
a few players I would love to have on the team, but I hope they're playing professionally next year and can't come. But if that's best, we would take them back in a heartbeat. But a couple players,
kind of a double-edged sword.
Yeah, it's a double-edged. Yeah.
I guess that's the showstopper. If they have to go somewhere else, we'd replace them. But if not, then it's essentially the exact same team that's going to be coming back. Yeah.
Right. Well, guys, this hour went by like this. Absolutely amazing. But it was fantastic. And just like the tournament, it was a pleasure to talk to you guys. I wish you all the best in your training this year. And I'm looking forward to seeing you all again in person and having a drink with you, Rod.
No, it was too cold. I thank you very much for taking time out of your schedule to talk to us. We really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, really appreciate it. It's great for the program. So looking forward to seeing you next year.
Yeah, thank you.
You going back, Gary?
I am. My wife told me I'm going back regardless of what I was. But yeah, I wouldn't. Now that I've been there a number of years, I wouldn't miss this now. Now this is around the center of the calendar, and everything else kind of falls in around it. It's the most amazing thing. I love the place. I love the people, and the tournament itself is, in my eyes, second to none. Really.
I couldn't agree more.
It's Christmas for lacrosse players. That's the way to put it.
That is good. I like that.
All right. Well, again, best of luck. Just remember, everybody, this show can also be heard on Spanglish World Radio Network. Please check out spanglishworld.ca for all the news and programming. Spanglish Sports World. Watch it, hear it, read it, download it, live it. Until next Thursday, we'll see you again soon. Take care.